Okay, it's recording now. Hello again to you. And today we will talk, if our time allows us, we will talk about two chapters, chapter 14 and chapter 15. Let me share it with you. Okay, good. Would you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. Italian people and Spanish people say perfecto. Perfecto is perfect.
Perfecto.
Perfecto, yeah. Wow. Do you know what is the difference between organizational structure and organizational design? Is there any view about it? What is organization structure and what is organizational design? And after that, we will talk about the organizational culture. How do you think?
I think the organizational structure is part of the organizational design.
Uh-huh.
But
So
I think
the total frame is organizational design, you think?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think the organizational structure is part of the steps in the design.
Mm-hmm. Amy, how do you think?
So the difference between the organization structure or I think
And organizational design.
So the organization design is the I mean it's the structure that
Infrastructure,
like in the company.
yes. Fundamentals, yeah.
Yes. So like when you work in the company, there are like lots of many organizations. But I think the meaning of organizational structure is the type of structure that it's
And what about the differences between organizational structure and organizational design? Is there any difference or no? You think they are the same?
But I think there's the difference.
Difference. So do you want to look at the difference during the course? Because it was my first question, that what are the differences? Identify the elements of organizational structure and describe mechanistic and organic structures. Wow. So we are looking at the organization like a living being, not like a very rigid and without any living. We are looking at the organization such a living being, such a human being, such an animal, such a plant. It has its own living, because what is the main component of organizations? The main component. Do you know what is the main component of organization?
Component?
Money. The main component, the main element. Money, knowledge, globality, human force, sales, market. What is the main element that all the other many elements are on that element, that component? How do you think? It's very simple.
I think it's the money.
No, money is the main element of bank, not organizations. I am, you are, Courtney, we are persons. Persons, yeah. Human beings are the main component, the basic components of all institutions. For example, family is an institution. School is an institution. When we are talking about organizations, generally speaking, we are talking about the institutions. And in positive psychology, We have three types. We have three elements of positivity. One, positive character, positive personality traits. Two, positive feelings or positive emotions. And three, positive institutions. Kim Cameron, I will send his video to Moodle tonight. Kim Cameron is a manager, positive management and positive psychologist. He's a combination of management, business, and psychology. He has coined a phrase so-called positive leadership. I have studied the book. This is fantastic. And using positive leadership in workplace. It is he had two books about the positive leadership. In the book of positive leadership and also working using positive leadership in workplaces, he has described the positive applicable, not theoretical only, positive applicable elements of positive leadership as a component of positivity in all aspects of your life. Positive character, positive feelings, and positive institutions. Because of that, human beings, persons, are the main element, are the main constructing element of all organizations. So explain what influences an organization's structure. Describe the basic types of organizational structures. Identify and discuss for contemporary issues in organizational structure and the other parts. Organizational design. The process of selecting and managing aspects of the organizational structure and culture to enable the organization to achieve its goal. As Courtney says, organizational structure is a part of total concept, so-called organizational design. Based on the organizational design, we determine the main factors of our organizational structure. So the main picture is organizational design. Based on that vision, that picture we are looking at as organizational design, we create our organizational structure and also organizational culture. The system of task, reporting, and authority relationships within which an organization does its work. Three elements: tasks, reports, supervisions, and authority. The relationship between these elements is called organizational structure. For example, say me a position of authority in an organization. What is the major position of authority in an organization? For example, it is what is the main authority position in an organization? Who has the main authority? What?
The president or CEO?
Yeah, CEO, or for example, in financial part, it is CFO, or in CMU, Dr. Guyabadi has a CAO, Chief of Academic Officer, okay? It is, we call them C-levels. Do you know what are the C-levels? All chiefs in an organization, they are called C-levels. If you search C-level in internet, they say a lot of CTO. Chief of Operational Officers. It is COO. Chief of Financial Officer, CFO. Chief of CEO is Chief of Executive Officer, and other Cs. So they are called C-level persons in an organizations. The major part, the higher ranking, the higher level of management and decision makers in an organization, different aspects and different levels of an organization. The core of what coordinates, controls, and motivates employees to cooperate toward the attainment of organizational goals. What is the difference between attainment and achievement in an organization or in your personal life? What is the course of, what are the differences between attainment and achievement. You are muted, Courtney.
I think attainment is wanting to do something and to get it. And achievement is actually getting the goal done.
Attainment is the process of achievement, in the pathway of achievement. And it is very interesting if you see a journal by the title of International Journal of Happiness Studies, very famous scientific, academic, evidence-based journal. International Journal of Happiness Studies, or sometimes it is called Journal of Happiness Studies. I read an article in that journal about the differences between attainment and achievement. The research shows that, research findings shows us that when you are in the pathway of attainment, you are happier than achievement. When you are in the pathway of achievement, you are happier than when you achieve. The process, the journey is more joyful than destiny. Like now, you are in the pathway of undergraduation. Now, in these days, for example, for next 1 year, you have a lot of hope about and fantasizing your future after undergraduation. And after, when you reach your goal, it is perfect, but there is no fantasy. Why? Because it is your reality. Before, it is like love. When you haven't achieved your love, you fantasize about your love object. After achievement, it's better, but it is not happier. So the scientific article says that when people are in the pathway, in the road to achieve something, which is called attainment way or attainment stage, they are happier than when they achieve their goals. The core of what coordinates, control, and motivation employees to cooperate toward the attainment of organizational goals. So we have 3 parts: coordination, control, and motivation. And other part, task, reporting, and authority. In the external part, we see in organizational structure, the task of organization and employees, the reporting and supervision of employees and tasks, and the authority for decision-making and orders. It is the external part of organizational structure. And the internal part is about coordination, control, and motivation. You should create the motivating aspects of your job in your employees, in your co-worker. Except of that, the sense of belongingness in your employees will reduce. And after that, you should control, and control. It's one of the major concepts in general psychology and also in industrial psychology. It is called locus of control theory, the theory of locus of control. It is very important, very, very important, and very profitable theory in your daily life, even with your parents, with your partners, sometimes with yourself even. It's a theory of locus of control, external locus of control and internal locus of control. More in external locus of control, more need to control. The more internal locus of control, the less need to control. Why? When you have a high level of internal locus of control, the organization, your parents, your partner, your society doesn't need to control you because you are controlling yourself. It is called self-control. Organizational chart describes the structure of an organization. Different levels, from the top level, C-level, to the simple workers. It is described the structure of an organization. Departments, assistants, consultants, partners, corporate, and other parts of an organization. Show all people, position, reporting relationships, and lines of formal communications. Is it linear? Traditionally, yes. Organizational chart traditionally is linear. We have top level and lower levels. It is traditionally. But now in the modern management, we know in reality it is not linear. Because of that, sometimes you see some C-level come to the downer parts, and working class and the downer parts of an organization doesn't know their C-level, doesn't know their CEO, the CFO. They don't know that, yes, this gentleman is my, for example, CEO. And come to within the lower levels to gathering information about the reality of their organizations. So honestly, it is not linear, but traditionally we assume that the organizational chart is a linear relationship between different aspects of a chart. And characteristic of organizational structure. At first, division of labor. Who is the father of modern management? Who is the founder of modern management at the beginning of the 20th century? I think I have talked about him in the previous sessions.
His name?
Who?
You said like his name.
Yes, I said his name. Also, he was he, not he was she. He was he. The father of modern management. Also, the phrase of division of labor is not for him. Division of labor is something from Marx and that approach to work, but the founder of management was someone who spread this phrase between the companies, between the organizations. He was.
What was?
We have another famous person, so famous, more famous lady from his family, so-called Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth what? The one of the most beautiful actress of the Hollywood, and now she is very old. I think, I don't know, she has passed away.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Thank you for your memory, and work on your memory, please. Elizabeth Taylor. And the Taylor was the father, also not Elizabeth, but Taylor was the father of modern management at the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. And one of the phrases that he spread out in the managerial levels of organizations was work division or division of labor, the extent to which employees specialize or generalize. How do you think about a specialization of work between the employees? Is it good or bad? Do you think that people should be toolbox, a lot of skills at the moderate level, or no? They should be a specialized expert, legal skills with a high level. How do you think and why? Expertise?
I think it depends on the occupation, though.
What occupation needs toolbox people?
Let's see, like what is the name of like a mailman? And then a doctor, like a cardiologist, needs to specialize.
Yeah. And what was the job you said about the toolbox?
I like in the mail service industry.
Yes. They should have a lot of skills as a person. Mailbox services.
A lot of what?
For example, you said a cardiologist should have only little knowledge about very, very small, a lot of knowledge about a very small portion of knowledge. For example, our heart. Why? Because his proficiency has a lot of details. Is there any job in our modern society that we say, yes, you should have a lot of skills, not so deeply, but you should know a superficial of a lot of skills? Do you remember such a job in a modern society or not?
Is you didn't like the answer of like mail delivery carriers?
Uh-huh. Why do you
Or,
think that they
or
should have a lot of
like
expert
general,
in the
have
superficial?
general, they should have a lot of the general knowledge of it.
Yes, correct. Well, for example, when you are property manager,
Mm-hmm.
property manager in a community, you should know a lot of legal knowledge from different aspects of property man or maintenance manager.
Mm-hmm.
It is not very deep, but you should know something from electricity, something from gas, something from, for example, working as a simple worker, but legal. Why? Because finally, you don't want to do anything in action. You want to have a good diagnosis about what should we do. You are not the operator. You are the person for diagnosis. In such jobs, yes, we need a lot of legal knowledge in different aspects. So areas of specialization are very variant and very varied. A lot of areas you should know about, but the volume, the amount of knowledge is not so high, only for diagnosis. But as you said, in some expertization, for example, like cardiologist or surgeon or other people, how do you think about the management? Do you need a specialization, a specialized knowledge, a specific knowledge in management or not? As the person that you are paying money for education, how do you think about the management? Is management a specialized expert job or not? It's a general job. How do you think as the students of the management and business courses programs?
I think they need to specialize. It's a little bit of both. Specialize in the occupation that they're managing, but they have to have the general knowledge too to help and know what to do if there's problems below their rank.
Let me show you an example. The CEO of Coca-Cola switched his job from Coca-Cola to Microsoft, to Apple or Microsoft, I don't remember, from another separate specific industry to another industry. And in both sides, in both companies, he was very successful. Coca-Cola to an internet or computer-based industry. No relationship with the essence of these industries. And he was successful. Why? Because of these changes, do you think management is a special knowledge or not? It's a general knowledge. Basically, management is a very specialized knowledge, but a specialized knowledge about the management, not about industry. It is not important which industry you are managing. It is not important. The specific and very professional principles and knowledge of management you can use in every type of industries. Some people think that I am talking about the higher level, upper echelon management, not about the mid level, not about the down level of management. I am talking about the CEOs. I'm talking about the general managers, about the top level management. In that level, in hyper echelon or high echelon managers, you don't need to know a lot of specific knowledge about the industry. Why? because you are not in the factory. You are not in the mid-level or down low level of the factory of industry. You are at the top level. You know about the stock market. You should know about the market, how marketing, how financial, and other things. It is not related to the specific knowledge of a specific industry. It is the general professional knowledge about how to manage. What is the simplest definition of management? Management is the art of administration. It's the simplest definition of management. So you should know how to administrate other people or other organizations. Span of control, the number of people reporting directly to an individual. Hierarchy, the degree to which some employees have formal authority over others. And formalization, the extent to which organization rules and procedures are written down and closely followed. And centralization, the degree to which power and decision-making authority is concentrated at higher levels of organization rather than distributed. I have some question about the item 3 and item 5, hierarchy and centralization. Hierarchy is the degree to which some employees have formal authority over others. Do we have any informal authority in the organizations? Can we have any informal hidden leaders, but real leaders? They are leaders, but they are not formal. Do we have any informal authority on formal manager in organization? If yes, why and how? If no, why? Say me about the informal leaders, informal authority in an organization. How do you think?
Yes, I think you can. I think there could be, that's one of the examples, was it for last, like the charismatic type of leader, or somebody that naturally has the referent power, and they just are people oriented, and they they have the influential power over others. So I think that could be, and they technically don't have maybe the degree or education to have the higher position, yet they still can be leaders.
It is something like family. Sometimes you look at the family and see that, wow, grandpa and grandma are the real parents. They are not formal parents. They are informal. They are grandpa and grandma. But they have the main authority and they have the main educational and training under, for example, son, daughter, and other children in the house. Because of that, we can see it also in organizations. And you use a very, very correct word, charismatic. Charismatic is the dominance in the governance on the hearts of people, not on the mind of people. When you are charismatic, people accept you not only because of your knowledge, because of your money, because of your formal position. They accept you because of your personality, your character. Because of that, we call them charismatic leaders. And what about centralization, the degree to which power and decision-making authority is concentrated at higher levels of organization rather than distribute? Can we have any distributed authority? What type of authority is distributed? When we are talking about authority, we are talking about a very specific point of power. It is called authority. It is called CEO. It is called general manager. What does it mean that distributed authority? What type of authority will be if the authority is distributed? And what type of decision we can make when the authority is distributed? Amy, how do you think? Can we distribute the authority? And what type of authority it is when it is distributed, not concentrated?
Authority?
Yeah, the power. The power in an organization is authority, the power of decision making, the power to have some executive orders, for example. He or she has the authority in the organization. Simply speaking, when we are talking about the authority, we are talking about the centralization, concentrated power on one specific point, on one specific person, in one specific position in the organization. But your book says sometimes it is distributed, and the degree to which authority is distributed or concentrated is in the concept of centralization. I ask you, and also Courtney, that what type of authority it is when it is distributed. Is there any distributed authority or not?
I think there is.
So what type of authority we can have when it is distributed?
Hmm.
Say example for a newspaper, and then there's the editors of the specific sections of the journalists. So they like the editor in chief, but below that, there's the journalist and all before that. So that's distributed out amongst the different categories.
Mm-hmm. So it is distributed authority?
I think so.
It is distributed. Sometimes we have a board of decision makers, not only one specific person. Why? Because the decision making always decision making is a multi-dimensional process, I know. But sometimes it is not very simple. It is so complicated with a lot of dimensions. In those parts, we have some board, many people, for example, 4, 5, 6, board of directors, board of managers, board of trustees. In this part, yes, authority is concentrated in one point. It is concentrated, but that one point is not only one person. Now, one point is a board of persons, board of directors, board of managers. Because of that, it says that sometimes it is distributed, sometimes it is concentrated. So, defining what type of division of labor, span of control, hierarchy, formalization, and centralization are the 5 components of a structure. As you see, for example, we have an organizational chart here. At the first rank, first level, it is president. And after that, 2 vice president. And after that, mid-level manager. And after that, associate. And after that, simple workers. And. This is like this. At the top, the amount of people reduce, the sense of importance in organization increase. You have only one general manager. But for example, you may have 50 simple worker. The amount is not the sign of importance. Why? Because it is related to the level of organization you are at. The amount of people is not the sign of importance in your organization. The sign of importance in your organization is related to the level of functioning, level of significant functioning you are working at. And wide span of control, you see that we have narrow span of control and wide span of control. Mechanistic and organic design. Mechanistic and organic design. What are the features of mechanistic structure? It is rigid, traditional, and bureaucracy. It is mechanistic structure. Hierarchical communication. You cannot have some free communication with the upper levels of your hierarchy. A simple worker cannot have a good access and easy access, for example, to general manager because it is hierarchy. Hierarchy shows the level of importance, the levels of value of a company. Uniform job descriptions. There is very traditional. It was good before internet, before cyberspace. It was very good. Or even before mass production. Mass production. Do you know who is the father of mass production in the world? Who was the first one that thought, yes, I want to produce in a massive size, and I don't want to name his industry because after that you will find him so easily.
Ford.
No. The word of mass production is for what? But the father of mass production is not. He has the number two. His family has the number 2 car industry in America.
Oh, I know. Ford.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I said, Ford.
You say Ford?
Yeah, that's what I said. And you said no,
sorry,
that was
I
confusing.
heard Howard. I think you say Howard because we have Howard Hughes here again. Howard Hughes, another one that talk about the mass production and also in politics. But the Ford, Henry Ford, was the father of mass production.
Yes.
He was very great.
The
man.
Model T.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And may minimize cost. Mechanism structure. It is very linear, very hierarchical, and show to capitalize on new opportunities. Slow to capitalize on new opportunities. The mechanistic structure of organization doesn't love new opportunities. Why? Because it is very change resistant, very change resistant. Why? The traditional approach to organizational structure is based on the consistency and inertia and based upon the persistency and keeping and maintaining the present status quo. It doesn't love any change. And for a competitive market like now, hyper competitive market like now, when we are talking about now, we are talking about the last 50 years, 5-0. Last 50 years, it is hyper competitive. After entering the new millennium, it is hyper competitive for the last 20 years, for example. For this type of marketing in the modern countries, in the developed countries like Korea, like America, like European countries, these are the developed countries, you cannot be so rigid and you cannot thinking linear. It doesn't work at all. You should work and think in a network of relationship and network of dimensions. Because of that, in America, they said, your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. It is completely true here in America. And also, I think in a modern country like South Korea, it is very true. Your network is your net worth. How many people do you know? And how many people you have some network with them? Not only knowing them. Knowing them is not so important. An organic structure is flexible, decentralized, open communication channels, and focus on adaptability, faster response to market and competitive changes, and may increase job satisfaction and commitment. It is very live, very, very live, very vital. And you see the name of the structure. The name of the structure is organic structure.
Mm.
Looking at an organization, very vital, with a lot of energy, flexibility, movement, giving and taking. Flexible and decentralized. It doesn't mean that when we say decentralized, it doesn't mean that the company doesn't have any chief or CEO. Yes, it has. But the process of decision making is not concentrated on that authoristic person. He or she has the authority to say the last decision, yes, but the process of decision making is not based on one person. If the process of decision making is based on one person, it is called dictatorship. Only one person has the last decision. It is something like democratic decision making. In both of them, only one person takes the final decision, yes. But in dictatorship, that person doesn't hear anybody else, only on his or her own knowledge, on his or her own desire, make a decision. In democratic process, only one person makes a decision, but his decision-making process is not based on his or her own values, his or her own desire, or his or her own knowledge. It is based on the common sense. A lot of views of other people, other co-workers, other employees. And after that, yes, only one person makes a decision. So it is very important that in democratic decision-making process and dictatorship, authoritarian decision-making, we have always one person to be responsible, to be accountable for that decision. It is true, but the process of reaching that decision is different in democratic and also in authoritarian dictatorship decision-making. Nordstrom Employee Handbook. You can see the Nordstrom Employee Handbook. Welcome to Nordstrom Rule 1. Use good judgment in all situations. What is the motto of Nordstrom? You know?
Mm?
What is the motto? What is the great talking and the head topic of Nordstrom in HR? It is very famous. Have you gone to the HR department of Nordstrom or no?
No.
Amy, do you know Nordstrom? What is Nordstrom?
No.
Nordstrom is one of the chain stores in America, only for cosmetic, only for clothing, for dress. It's very
It's
huge.
like a Macy's.
Do you know? I don't know that Amy know Macy's or not. Do you know Macy's? It is very American, but very famous superstores. Not like Walmart or Costco.
It's like a
They're-
mall in one store.
Yeah, a mall in one store. I noticed on one of them.
Isn't it like the shopping center?
Yes, not at the size of it. Nordstrom is part of the shopping center. But when you enter Nordstrom or you enter Macy's, yes,
Like
you
a
have a
high-end-
lot of things.
Higher end shopping
Yeah.
center.
The motto, the headline of Nordstrom is this: together we are stronger. It is the motto of Nordstrom. When you enter the HR department of Nordstrom, you see that in the wall has written, together we are stronger. And welcome to Nordstrom. Rule 1, use good judgment in all situations. There will be no additional rules. Nordstrom has only one rule. Use good judgment in all situations. There will be no additional rules. Please feel free to ask your department manager, store manager, or division general manager any question at any time. Also, it is at the level of motto. I know it is not so easy to talk to anybody in the different. Also, I think in Nordstrom, I have seen in Nordstrom that yes, there is very close relationship between the general manager of a store and employees. Sometimes you cannot find who is general manager, who is simple worker, very, very near. But at the level of decision making, so it is clear that it should be different. Mechanistic and organic continuum. At the lower level, you see organic structure, and the higher level, you see mechanistic structure, model 1, model 2, model 3, model 4, model 5, and model 6. In model 1, nearest model to mechanistic structure, you see rigid bureaucracy. Rigid. Everything should be written. Everything should be on time. It is very traditional, no flexibility, no changing to marketing thinking. And finally, these industries will die in the modern industrial marketing and business world. And model 2, bureaucracy run by top management team. It is not rigid. And we have a top management, not only, it is TMT. I don't know, you know this phrase or not. Everywhere in business or in industry, you see the phrase TMT. TMT is abbreviation of top management team, TMT. Model 2, bureaucracy run by TMT. Model 3, bureaucracy with cross-department meetings, teams, and task forces. It's a little wider. At first, it is only by one manager, the model 1. Second, the decisions are made by a TMT, top management team. Third level, in the mid-level between the mechanistic structure and organic structure, you see that we have a cross-departmental meeting from this department, that department. And in model 4, it is matrix organization. We are entering to a live organic structure of organizations. It is matrix, some deep interaction and intersections between different parts of an organization. And in model 5, it is project or team-based organization. The nature, the essence of the organization in model 5, near the last level of the nearest level to organic structure, you see that it is team-based organization. In this level, you cannot find teams inside the organization. You can find organization between teams. The major components of the organizations are teams. It is project or team-based organization. And at the nearest and closest level to organic structure, we see loosely coupled organic network. We are talking about the organic network. It is not about organization. It is about organic network. What influences organizational structure? Business strategy, external environment, nature of talent, organizational size, expectations of employee behavior, organization's production technology, organizational change. First, what is business strategy? What is a strategy? Give me a definition, scientific definition of a strategy. What is a strategy?
Well,
A strategy is like making a plan, organizing a plan.
What is the difference between planning and strategy?
Strategy is how you're going to do it. What's the steps? Like plan.
What are the specific steps? Where are the specific steps? In a strategy or in planning? Which are more with details?
Strategy.
The strategy with details. And about the long term and long time and timeline, which is more based upon the timeline, a strategy or planning for the future, which
Strategy.
is more future oriented.
I think strategy is more future oriented.
Amy, how do you think about the differences between planning and strategy?
I think for like planning, like you need to like you need to you need to like prepare
Uh-huh.
about like the things
Uh-huh. In the planning or in the strategy?
in like planning.
Yeah. And what about the strategy?
Strategy, I think it just like it's the like in the company, like you need to
Mhm.
have like strategy plan or like that, but like you need to
The
like
specific steps in the strategy.
it needs to have the like specific
Yeah.
steps as well.
Yeah, one of the greatest differences between a strategy and planning is that a strategy including a lot of deep thinking about the future. A strategy, the main part of a strategy is between two parts, missions and visions. What is the connector between visions and missions is a strategy. So a strategy is highly future oriented at first. Highly future oriented. Secondly, a strategy has a lot of thinking. You can see a lot of thinking in a strategy. About the future. Planning is a tools for a strategy. And sometimes they are combined. We have a phrase, strategic planning. What does it mean? If the strategy is the same planning and the planning is the same strategy, what does it mean when we say strategic planning? Strategic planning is the type of planning which is very, very, very concentrated on the future, on the long future, not the near future, in the long future, so far future. So in a strategy, you have vision. In a strategy, you have mission. In a strategy, you should determine the steps, everything. But if they ask you, say only one word about the strategy, it is future oriented. The main and the keywords of the strategy are the same keywords of leadership. What is the main feature of a leader and main differences of leader and the managers? Leaders are future oriented. Managers are not future oriented. Managers are present oriented. In a timeline of administrating, we have managers, coordinators, leaders, boss, and other people. And external, being a low-cost producer would require a more hierarchical, rigid structure than would pursuing an innovation strategy. Innovation, creativity, new products, new thinking is about the strategy. I think also. And I'm so sad about it that why in near first years of the human education, for example, in elementary school, with the language of children, not with the language of managers, with the language of children, we should learn, we should teach children strategic thinking. Sometimes strategic thinking is about the dreaming about the future. Why? Because when you want to have a vision, at first you have a good visualization. Vision is the production of the visualization. Visualization is the process of creating visions about the future. The second influence is external environment. A rapidly changing environment requires a more flexible structure than a more stable environment. Do you think external rapidly changing environment is better or not worse than the more stable environment? How do you think? Changing environment is good or a stable environment for a company, for an organization?
If the company's properly prepared, I think a quick change
You are muted.
could be beneficial.
If the company has the tools for adapting to change?
Yes, like the article, I think it was from the Inc.com that was listed in, and how they talked about how the companies thrived that had the steps already in place to be
Yes.
able to adjust quickly.
But a lot of company doesn't have any good
Mhm.
level of flexibility to adopt them. It is like human beings.
Mhm.
It is like human beings. Many people doesn't have good flexibility to adapt to the changing environment or inner changing also. For example, old aging. Also, it is not very rapid. It is very slow and gradual process for changing, but it is changing. If they see that they don't have any good adaptation, for example, with aging. But people who has a very good adaptability to changing, sometimes they can harm themselves and others, I know, in short period of time. But totally in a long term, more rapid you are, more successful you are. Why? Because the movement is the main component of life, of vitality. What are the features of vitality? Movement, color, passion,
Mhm.
and brightness. It is something like TV. The main features of vitality, of zest, of having good and high energy level of energy in life are the movement. If you are not dynamic, you are dying. If you don't have any good new goals in your life, you are in the process of dying. In the process of dying, yes, I know you are not dead, but you are in the process of dying, in the pathway of dying. Human beings needs to create, not to have, to create new goals. It is like organizations. Because of that, you see that in a, also I know it is so rare to have such a catastrophe like uh, coronavirus. It is very rare, I know. But in this rare catastrophe in our world, you see a lot of traditional thinking, not traditional organization, traditional thinking organization, traditional approach to organize a corporation, they are dying, they are destroying. Why? It is not because of the nature of coronavirus. It is because of the nature of their manager, how they think about the change. Don't forget, you cannot change the world. You can change only your attitude about the world. It is changeable only because the work doesn't have any concern with you. It, as a universe, as a world, everything you want to call it, it works its job, it works its duty. It's external of you. The only thing you can change and adapt is your attitude, your interpretation about the outer world. Except of that, you will be destroyed. Okay? Nature of talent. It is about if workers have professional skills and need to work together, then a flatter team-based structure would be more appropriate than a taller bureaucratic structure. Flatter, taller, team-based, bureaucratic. Different parts and different extreme points. To have a flatter structure, to have a taller structure. It is like the plants. When you have a very severe wind, storm, the taller trees will destroy, will break. But the flatter plants go down, and after a storm, they will go back to their states, to their position, their first position. Because of that flexibility, it's very important. It is highly recommended to you, that read the book anti fragile, anti-fragile. I think the author is Nassim Taleb. Nassim Taleb is a psychologist and industrial psychologist, Egyptian, I think, Egyptian. It is very famous book, very, very famous book. Anti-fragile. Anti-fragile is something different of resilience. Resilience is you go to down and after go back to the same position. It is resilience. Anti-fragile is means you go down and you go back to a position better than the previous position. Because of that, you will love your failures. Because of that, you will love your bad situations in your life. Because you know that after going down, after experiencing something like failure, you will go back to the position better than the primary position. It is anti-fragile. I think the author is Nassim Taleb. It is highly recommended to read this book. It is very helper to raising your consciousness about the nature of bad situations in love. We have a very lovely phrase in positive psychology. It is called PTG, post-trauma growth. It is fantastic. Anti-fragile is about PTG, post-trauma growth. Wow. You can experience a trauma. You can be destroyed sometimes. But after trauma, you have a growth. It is post-trauma growth. You know, for people who go to war, for women who experience rape, for people who experience earthquake, we have a psychopathological word. It is PTSD. PTSD, it is post-traumatic stress disorder. When you experience a stress disorder, a traumatic stress, for example, you go to war and see that, wow, your comrade is dying in the side of you. It is PTSD. You have a lot of re-experiencing in their sleep after, for example, 20 years. I work with the war-related PTSDs in my country about 5 years. And in my country, the war has stopped near, yes, it is near 32 years before. The end of the war in my country was 32 years. After 20 years, the veterans again re-experience the accident, the events of the war in their mind, and they were hyper vigilant, very, very aggressive, and they had a lot of re-experience in their sleep and avoidance from the situation, hyper avoidance from the situation, something like, for example, war, any aggression, any anger. It is PTSD. Or some, you can see, for example, women who has experiences raping. They experiences raping event in their mind, in the heart, in their sleep. And after going to a very formal, very happy family as a woman, they have some, for example, sexual, affective, emotional problems. Why? Because they are experiencing the raping event in their mind, in their sleep, and they are hyper arousal, and they have a lot of hyper avoidance from, for example, touching and making love and other parts, which is very natural in a couple. It is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is psychopathology. It's about the illnesses. In positive psychology, we have post-trauma growth. It is fantastic. And the book Anti-Fragile is, by Nassim Taleb is about PTG. And as a manager, as a leader, it is highly recommended to all leaders to read this book. Why? Because they will gain a different analysis, different interpretation about the bad situations in their organization. An organization of size, larger organization tend to have greater specialization. It is clear, greater hierarchy and more rules than the smaller firms. And expectation of employee behavior, employees are expected to follow explicit rules and procedures. A more hierarchical, centralized structure would be called for. It is related to the type and the rigidity and the level and the spreading of the functions we expect from our employees. And organization's production technology, it is high tech, it is lower tech. If the firm uses the unit production and makes custom products, a flatter structure with the lower manager spend control is most appropriate. It is about the mass production or about the custom products. For example, Rolls-Royce, a car company, is the car company that after I think about 7 years of the company, it is done by hand. A lot of parts it's handmade. It is custom car. Also, it is very expensive because of this. Because you order everything in the interior part of a car, and they will make them by their hand. It is custom designing for the cars, and also it is very expensive. And finally, it is organizational change. As the environment and business strategies change, organizational structure change too. It is the great question in strategic leadership, strategic management. Even one approach in psychotherapy, it is called a strategic therapy by Jay Haley. Jay Haley was a man from the industrial world and went to psychotherapy as a psychologist. And the approach was called strategic therapy. It is very famous therapy in the world of psychotherapy. Every type of a strategic thinking, therapy, industry, family, other parts, we have two questions. At first, is a strategy the determining factor for a structure, or no? Is a structure the determining factor for a strategy? We don't know. We have different parts. Okay? Yeah. And now we can have, 15 minutes for breaking. And after 15 minutes to 7 old, that's good. And after 15 minutes, be here for about 45 minutes. And after that, you can take your week 7 quiz. Is there any question?
No question.
See you after 15 minutes.
Okay. Mm.
Welcome back. And let's go to the other parts, other slides of PowerPoints. It is production technology.
What chapter?
It's the same chapter, 14.
Oh.
Okay. Production technology. Unit production. Let me ask you a question before entering the discussion. What is the difference between industrial engineering and management science?
Hmm?
Do you know anything about the industrial engineering?
No.
What is the major of industrial engineering? We have a specific field in the engineering department, so-called industrial engineering. And also in humanities sciences, we have management sciences, leadership sciences, and also in positive psychology, we have leadership, organizational leadership. It is a type of psychology, not a type of management. A lot of psychological departments have the doctorate degree for organizational leadership. It is leadership and organization, but it is in the Department of Psychology. Please note that we have interdisciplinary sciences. Interdisciplinary sciences are the sciences that you are gathering from different aspects of sciences to one thing. For example, biology studies the structure of brain. It is not psychology, it is biology. Medicine go to the illnesses of the brain. It is neurology. It is not psychology or biology. It is the medical approach to brain. What illnesses, for example, Alzheimer, Parkinson, and other illnesses are brain-related illnesses. And at the other parts, we have a major field in the university with the title of philosophy of mind. It is about the philosophy, not about the biology, not about the neurology and other. We have an interdisciplinary science. It's by the name of neuroscience. What is neuroscience? Neuroscience is interdisciplinary science. Some parts about from the medicine, some part from the philosophy, some part from the computer science, some part from the psychology. Together, it is called neuroscience. Now, many sciences, many majors, many scientific majors are interdisciplinary sciences, interdisciplinary courses, interdisciplinary majors. Why? Because we want to look at the things, to look at the phenomenon, to look at the events from different aspects, and we should look at it from the different aspects. Only one aspect is not enough. If you look at everything from the aspect of psychology, you will miss the social aspects, you will miss the neurological aspect, you will lose the biological aspects. If you look everything from the biological aspects, you will lose the social aspects, psychological and other aspects. Now, for the last, I think, 30 years, we have a lot of interdisciplinary sciences and interdisciplinary approaches. Sometimes it is called multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary is the same interdisciplinary, from different approach, from different aspects to one title or one object. Now, in some courses, some programs like MBA, you can ask yourself, I am a psychologist, why I am teaching in a management faculty, in a management university? Why? Because some aspects of your science, as a managerial science, as a business science, MBA or DBA, is direct or indirect related to psychology. For example, in the MBA, I teach a course so-called negotiation processes. It is a very important course in MBA. Conflict management, conflict resolution, and negotiation processes. Why a psychologist can teach them? Because it is the major part of psychological aspect of human being. But it is management. It is about the money. And now you know that if you want to make a good money, earn a good money, you should know a lot about the economic behaviors. In the history of Nobel Prize, one psychologist has won the Nobel Prize of Economy. So Daniel Kahneman is the psychologist who has won the Nobel Prize for Economy. Why? Because he studies the economical behavior of human beings. Because of economical behavior, he has won the Economy Prize. Because of the behavioral approach to economy, he is a psychologist. It's an interdisciplinary. And I have a good emphasis for you to know about the different aspects of your life. If you know only about the managerial part, you are a very ordinary manager. If you know only about the psychological part, you are very ordinary, not extraordinary, not different. You should know about different aspects of human being as a manager. Because of that, you should know good about the philosophy. At least one philosophy, one history of philosophy books you should read. Have you read ever before this time about the history of philosophy or not? Hammy, have you read any book about the philosophy or not?
No, not yet.
And Courtney?
I've taken a philosophy course before, many moons ago, like 2009.
Uh-huh. Okay, good.
And like, of course, the typical Socrates and like go
Ah,
back to
For
the,
example, the book History of Western Philosophy by Bertrand Russell. It is very classical book about the very short but classical book about the history of philosophy. And also you should know about the art, especially about the literature and film, about the movies. If you want to be a good manager, a good leader, you should know about this extra data of your job. Except that you are very ordinary, you are not the top level. Because of these atmospheres, you will gain from the books, from the literature, from the movie, and from the modern art. You know what is society you are working and what is society you are you want to manage. For example, a factory, example, a store, a business. For example, can you say me some title of business-related movies? The most business-related movie is, everybody knows it. It is about the business, about the money, not about the business. What is the most famous business about the movie, Courtney?
I don't know if it's the same one. I was just going to think of the first one that popped in my head was Wolf of Wall Street.
Thank you. That's it. Yes. The Wolf of Wall Street is the icon, is the most famous movie about the money. Everybody, all around the world. In my country, when you say me one film about the business and money, everybody says Wolf of Wall Street. Also, it is not so real. Because of that, also I know it is not a real movie. It's a very emotional part of movie. For example, Aviator is one of the good movies about the business.
Howard Hughes, right?
Yeah, Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was a genius, really genius.
So you're a Leonardo DiCaprio fan.
Different aspects of life, different aspects, and different huge aspects. He's one of the founders of aviation in America, one of the founders of business in America. And he has a very, very bad washing obsession, very, very bad controlling washing obsession. And one part of FBI and other parts, he was genius. One of the best brain in the history of America is Howard Hughes, and very good movie, very, very good. I think the actor is Leonardo DiCaprio, I think.
Yep, and he did the new Wolf of Wall Street too.
Yeah. After that, and for example, there is a movie. It's called.
What's the one with Tom Cruise where he's the sports agent?
What was the movie?
Oh,
When he's the sports agent, it has Cuba Gooding Jr. in it.
Yeah.
It's like the oh, I'll have to Google it.
Yes, you should Google it. At first, one movie per week. You are the student. You are studying the business in a scientific approach, not a very popular man or woman for working in a store. You are studying. What was the name?
Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire.
I have never seen this. And what is it about?
I guess it could be as a organizational behavior in theory, because he's a sports manager and gets fired from his job and he starts his own company.
Yeah.
It's a little far-fetched, but it's a typical really nice type film.
Please email me the trailer of the movie, because I have seen a movie 2 weeks ago. The name was it's about the business and business thinking, and very spiritual also. I will find it and put it in the Moodle course page. So every week at least, you should see one movie about the business. Family movie. You can see it with your friends, with your family members. It's not too bad. To know what is doing and what is current, because a lot of movies shows other people out of business a picture of you as a general manager, as a leader. Ordinary people think about you with the movies, not with real you. Movies create a general picture of every type of people. For example, we know a lot of movies about the personality of psychologists, good movies or bad movies, positive movies and negative movies. And sometimes people talk to me in my country or here that, yes, for example, you may remember me, that picture of movie. Even one of my greatest and first motivation to be a psychologist was a movie. When I was at the age of 6, yes, 8, sorry, at the age of 8, I saw a movie so-called One Flews Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One Flews by um, Jack Nicholson.
Hmm.
And the name of the character is McMurphy. McMurphy. After becoming a doctor in psychology, one day I was thinking about the roots of my motivation for being a psychologist so deeply. I was in a state of psychoanalysis, self-analysis, and I was thinking so deeply about the roots of my interest to psychology because it is the first and major part of my mind interest is psychology and mind-related sciences, coaching, psychology, mentorship, and other parts. I remember that it was one of my greatest motivators for mind, for brain, and after that, other movies. Because of that, if you want to connect other people, even your family members, for example, especially Courtney has, how many children do you have, Courtney?
I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, boy and
Okay.
girl.
They are at the first stages of, yes, hi, how are you? They are at the first stages of growing. And some good movies about the business, about the leadership can help them to have some guideline for the future. Also, Heimei, and in their country, I know we have a lot of good. What was the Korean movie won the academic reward previous year, 2 years ago, 1 year? It is Parasite.
Parasite,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Parasite was from your country.
Yes.
Yes, it was greatest movie that in the history of Oscar winning. It was a foreign movie that won all the prizes. It is Parasite from the
What was his name, the director of the movie? I think he was like something with start with B, letter B.
No,
The Parasite.
Parasite. Yeah, Parasite won all the prizes of Oscar.
It is.
A lot of Oscar prizes was won by not all the prizes, but a lot of prizes. Oscar. And it was the first movie in the history of Oscar winning. It was the first foreign movie that overcome the American movies in a lot of aspects. For example, not only for foreign movies, because foreign movies has a specific prize in Oscar, but other parts Israel, it is not mandatory to the American movies but it is ordinary for the American movies. In the history of Oscar winning, The Paradise was the first movie to hold won a lot of other parts of Oscar prizes. Is there anything, Courtney, you should want to say?
I was just going to answer Jaime or Heimei that it was Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho was the director.
That was
The
his
director, yes.
That's what
yes. I do not know the name of the only person I know from the Korean, South Korean, is the singer of the famous South Korean song was Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Yeah, it's a Psyche. Psyche. Yeah, Psyche. The only one I know is.
Gangnam Style. Oppa Gangnam Style.
Yeah. In the time of, I think it was in the time of Obama, presidency of Obama. It's Gangnam, 5 or 6 years ago. Okay, unit production. Production is small batches or making one of a kind custom product. It is unit production. Very partly and very small batches of products. And mass production. Mass production, we talk about who? Who was the father of mass production? Mr. Henry Ford.
Henry
Master
Ford.
Production. Okay. One of the good movies I have seen since the last year was the movie about the car industry. It is Ford versus Ferrari. Ford versus Ferrari. Yes, Ford. It is very, very good movie about the car industry, and it is. I think it is 2020 or 2019. It is a very famous and very. There are a lot of discussions about the concepts in this movie. Ford versus Ferrari. The appearance of the movie is about only about the car matching. What the deep concepts in the movie is about the competition and competitive advantages of the car industry, and also very well-structured movie, very well-structured movie about the competition between Ford and Ferrari with different drivers. And also, I love this movie. I don't like action movies, but I love this. It was not action; it was an emotional movie. And mass production, producing large volumes of identical products, and continuous production. Machines constantly make the product, and employees monitor the machines and plan changes. It is continuous production. It's some interaction between machines and human resources, machines and human resources, or human factors of the company. Types of organizational structure. Bureaucratic structure and bureaucratic structure and functional
I
structure.
have a question.
But
What does it mean, like prove
I
you?
will say, I will
Yeah.
say.
What does that
Do you
mean?
know it is pre-bureaucratic? Pre is the prefix used for before. For example,
Oh.
pre-modern, modern, and postmodern. Pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. Pre is the prefix which you can use for the word before, and post is for after. For example, we say pre-COVID duration and post-COVID time. So when you say pre-bureaucratic structure, it is the organizational structure before coming the bureaucratic philosophy to organization. What is the major concept in bureaucracy? What is the major concept? What is the first word associated to your mind when you hear the word bureaucracy?
Triangle,
Triangle. What's the meaning of triangle?
like the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the pyramid.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Triangle, pyramid, and other things. It is very rigid and paper-based. It is paper-based, man. Everything is documented. Everything is documented because it needs a lot of time to do things in bureaucratic. Also, it is very good thinking. For example, for the beginning of the 20th century, yes, for that time it was very good. It was the first time that human beings learned to think systematically about the organizations by bureaucratic. It was very good. Before that, it is pre-bureaucratic structure, smaller organization with low standardization, total centralization, and mostly one-on-one communication. It was not organization, it was a tribe. It was something like if every job was family job. A father was the general manager, and the daughter and the sons were their employees. One-on-one communication. It is pre-bureaucratic structure. And after that, in bureaucratic structure, an organizational structure with formal division of labor, hierarchy, and standardization of work procedures. So, in bureaucratic structure or in bureaucracy, we see labor division, hierarchy, and standardization of work procedure. And after that, we are now in functional structure. Group people with the same skills or who use similar tools or work processes together into department. What is the meaning of function? How do you differ function from performance? For example, my heart has function or performance. How do you think? Do you think it is heart function or heart performance? what is the operational definition and differences in operational definitions of function and performance?
Function, I think, is has like an input and output.
Uh-huh. And other parts? The difference between function and performance. Performance doesn't have any input or output.
Performance?
Uh-huh. What is the difference between performance and function?
But I think performance is the maybe input.
Maybe input, other things. It is not the question about the meaning of the word. It is the question about the conceptual meaning of the word. Everybody knows the difference.
Action.
What? Okay, thank you.
The action, like performance is action.
Yes. Performance is observable and measurable. For example, when I shake and move my hand, it's my hand performance. I don't call it is my hand function. By my heart, you cannot see directly working of my heart, my stomach. You see heart functioning, heart dysfunctioning. So function is about the major concept of doing something. Sometimes it is observable, sometimes it is not observable. It is not related to observability and measurement. It is related to the main concept. But performance is observable. You cannot call it, I have performance, but I cannot show you my performance. As you can find the word performance in art, we say art performances. We don't say art functioning. When you are calling about the art functioning, it is mean that what is the major effectiveness of art, for example. When you say, for example, management function, you don't need to see the daily working of management. Management function is the outcome of the management performance. So simply speaking, we can say performance is measurable and observable. Everything can have a performance, and everything absolutely has a function. Sometimes functions with performance, sometimes function without performance. But we have always functions. Because of that, when we are talking about the organizational structure as a functional structure, we are talking about the groups, people with the same skills or with the similar tools or process together. It is about the functions. The function of your heart is different from function of your, for example, stomach. But your function of your heart is very near to your function of, for example, regulatory system with the blood. It is very near, same skills at the same page. It is different, but the same skills, the same functions for the regulatory system in your body with your blood and your heart, for example. Divisional structure, another structure of organization based upon the labor division. A division is a collection of functions organized around a particular geographic area, product or service or market. It is divisional structure. We have a group of functions concentrated on a specific geographical area or specifically on a product or service or market. It is divisional structure, common among generalization with many products or services, geographical areas, and customers. What is the best example of divisional structure for organization? Which company do you think that should have a good divisional structure? Because this company has a lot of different services that they are not common together. They are not related together. It should have a very good divisional structure. Courtney?
Would Amazon be one? Because
Amazon,
they have
yeah. Amazon.
music, TV,
Yeah.
books.
Different.
Yeah.
Music, books, tools, goods. It should have a divisional structure Why? One company with a different geographical area, service area, product area. Amazon is a very good example for looking at a company with a divisional structure. Why? Because different services, different tools that they are not related together. For example, if everything is about the books, okay, it is not divisional. But books is not related to the dress. Dress is not related to the pencil. Pencil is related to the goods, to the music, to the other parts. Amazon is a very good example for divisional organizational structure. A matrix structure. Employees report to both a functional manager and to a project or product team. We have two managers here. Functional manager, the first manager, or project or product team. Organization you see here in matrix structure, we have president team, one project leader team, two project leader team, three project leader, and research department leader, marketing department leader, production department leader, and finance department, for example. And each of these department leaders should have report for the project leader. Why? Because we have many areas of functioning, for example, financial functioning, research functioning, marketing functioning, production functioning, which overlap with all the teams. Every team needs project manager, yes. Every team needs research manager, yes. These are the basic area. Because of this picture you are looking at, you are watching, it is called matrix structure. We have some rows and some columns. It is called matrix. Team-based structure. Horizontal or vertical teams define part or all of the organizations. A lattice structure, cross-functional and cross-level sub-teams. In the team-based structure, we talk about the horizontal or vertical team. In lattice structure, we are talking about cross-functional or cross-level sub-teams are formed and dissolved and necessary to complete a specific project and tasks. It is not about one level, one direction, only horizontal, only vertical. We are talking about the cross-functional or cross-level. And network organization. Do you know anything about the MLM? What is MLM? It's very MLM. MLM. M for Mariah, L for level also, and M also for Mariah. All, we can say M for multiple, L for level, and M for marketing. MLM. MLM is multi-level marketing. Have you heard about it? This is very famous.
No.
It's very famous.
Oh, is it?
MLM is the major concept for every type of referral marketing or network marketing. It is multi-level marketing. The general phrase is MLM. And we have a very famous magazine in the world of business. It is called MLM magazine.
It's like when people try to sell you, like the one example is the workout shakes, you know, like they try to get you to order their shakes every month.
Yeah.
That's like the best example I could think of off the top of my head to try to explain it.
MLM has different approaches. For example, one of them is referral marketing. If you see or you read the works of Robert Kiyosaki has the very general book by the title of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's very famous financial success book for general population. It's not a scientific, it's a very general book for general population. It's a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki has a book by the title of, I think, Business for the 21st Century, something like it. The basic part of gathering information for business and marketing in the 21st century is based upon the MLM, multi-level marketing. referral marketing, network marketing. And what is bad about it is that sometimes people only want to sell something to you. Note that if in the future you will be a sales manager, the worst part of sales managing is to have pressure on the customers to buy something. It is the worst part of sales. There is no pressure on the customer. Customer, we should love your products. Do you know what the products are very lovely all around the world? Can you check in the internet the most lovable products all around the world? Can you guess what the product is the most lovable? Everybody in the world wants to have something from this company. It is the most money-maker company just now in the world. Sometimes before Google and sometimes after Google. It is. Everybody wants to have something from this company.
Everybody.
Wants to have a product from this company in his hands, at least in his hands. It is about
Apple.
Apple. That's right. You can check internet. Top 10 lovable companies in the world. Apple is in the ranking 1 or 2, sometimes before Google and sometimes after Google. Why? Why everybody wants to have a product from Apple? Honestly, if I want to talk to you honestly, I sometimes prefer, for example, Android and Samsung against Apple. But why Apple is so lovely? Because it creates an atmosphere of social credit. It creates an atmosphere of social prestige for the Apple owners. It's an icon of being an American style. And when you go to the stores or Apple stores, you have a good reputation. They have a good reputation for you. They act you very respectful. Customers is always the king. And very large stores all around the world, not only in America and California, all around the world. Apple stores is an icon of modernization of, for example, electronic productions. Because of that, referral marketing, MLM, multi-level marketing, network marketing is the basic part of new marketing. 20 years. 20 years is not so old. And in the progressive time, in the future, very, very not too far future, for example, about the next 10 years, you will see that network marketing is growing and growing so fast and so healthy. For example, now you go to Google, to Amazon, and say, I want to have my own market. They will give some options to you to create your Amazon market, everything you want to sell. It is not important. They give you a very small volume of internet and some basic approaches and some basic tools to create your digital marketing. It is about network organization, network marketing. A collection of autonomous units or firms that act as a single larger entity, using social mechanisms for coordination and control, and contemporary issues in this part. Virtual organization. Also, we know that this book has been written some years before COVID-19, but now in COVID-19 and after post-COVID time, we will have a good emphasis on the virtual organizations. Why? Because everything is becoming virtual. Cyberspace is not the second space. Gradually, cyberspace and virtual world is becoming the first world, not the second world. It becomes the most popular words. You will not see the trees, you will not see the streets, you will not see the family members in real time after, I think, 10 years from now. Why? during COVID-19, human beings learned that yes, I can do a lot of things in my house. Because of that, no money for traveling, no going outside, no money. And for example, for fuel, for traveling from your home to your job, everything is at the same location at a home office. Because of that, also this book, your textbook is written about 5 years ago. But in that time, the smell of virtual organization was very sharp. And now virtual organization is not virtual. Yes, technologically it is virtual, but as a friendly, user friendly, it is very user friendly. And every time we are observing, we are watching that new approaches, new tools are adding to the virtual organization and virtual management system, an organization that contracts out almost all of its function except for the company name and managing the coordination among the contractors. Low operating costs and high flexibility. Yes, honestly, it is high flexibility and low operating cost. When the costs are lowering, the final price is lowering. And communication and management is a challenge. One of the greatest questions for virtual companies, for virtual organization, is about the managerial systems and the communication as a challenge. And the last part is communities of practice, group of people whose shared expertise and interests in a joint enterprise informally binds them together. For example, golf clubs. When you go to golf clubs, it is very interesting. People are from different culture, from different neighborhoods, from different countries sometimes. But you see a lot of the serious, very important business contracts they are discussing when they are doing and playing golf. For ordinary people, a Starbucks. When now a Starbucks is closed, yes. But when it was closed, it was open. There's a Starbucks near my house was open 4:30 morning, 4:30, and closed 9:30 p.m. And one time I was running near a Starbucks. It was about, I think, 5:30 a.m. I was shocked. Two people in a Starbucks were doing trading stock market from Australia. In that time, Australia Bank was opening. In America was 5 a.m., early morning. But in Australia, I think the bank was doing a lot of things. 5 a.m. early morning, Starbucks was a good private office for doing some, for example, stock market trading, only because of buying a $3 Starbucks coffee. In America, it is very regular to go to the general population locations and do your important thing. It is very regular. It is not too bad. Now, in the communities of practice, you see some informal locations like golf club, like the Starbucks. Sometimes in very huge gyms, like for example, 24 hours fitness. You see people go there at a specific time and during eating coffee and during drinking coffee and talking together for hours, or go to the same gym at the same time and talking very seriously about the very important basic businesses, contracts. Because of that, we say communities of practice. It is very important contemporary issue for the organization. And final part, it is integrating employees. Segmenting employee into different groups requires additional integrating mechanism that facilitate coordination and communication among employees and group. The paradoxical part of the management in the modern life is creating balance between coordination and communication. When communication is very near, we generally lose our coordination. When we want to have a very good coordination, sometimes we lose our communication skills. So creating balance between communication and coordination is very important issue for modern management. And direct contact, managers from different units informally work together to coordinate, to identify and solve shared problems. And liaison role is a manager or team member is held formally accountable for communicating and coordinating with other groups. Is there any question? Okay, you have 15 minutes to take week
No
7 quiz.
questions.
That's your question?
No
Okay.
question.
And the next week is the final week, and study hard for your final exam. And yes,
Will
you
we,
can.
will we have a class discussion next Wednesday or just do the exam?
What?
Will we have a class discussion like last time before the exam?
Yes,
Or
yes. 1 hour for class time, 1 hour for your quiz.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we have 1 hour. Okay, see you
Professor
later. Study
Ara-
hard in this week for the quiz.
Oh, thank you very much.
Bye.
Professor Arash,
Right.
I finished my quiz. I already finished my quiz.
Can you take your quiz or not?
I already finished my quiz.
Okay, that's good. Why not?
Have a nice
Have a
week.
good time. Bye.
Bye.